Right now, as you watch this,
Central banks are printing money, not because the economy needs it, because $315 trillion in debt needs to be hidden somewhere, and that somewhere is your wallet.
in the next 9 minutes,
Your bank has no money. Never did. They knew. You paid $700 billion. One phone call, $315 trillion gone. Printed, vanished, yours. 2008 was planned. Here is the proof. 2026, banks are preparing. You are not. Subscribe now and hit the bell, because what we expose here never stays on YouTube for long. Your bank has no money. Never did. When you deposit $100, it does not sit in a vault. They operate on a system called fractional reserve banking. They keep 10%. They lend out 90% that simply does not exist. If everyone withdrew their cash tomorrow, every single bank on earth collapses today. How is this legal? The blueprint was drafted in 1913, a secret meeting on Jekyll Island. 7 bankers controlling 25% of global wealth locked themselves in a room. Who approved this? The Federal Reserve is not the government. It has no government oversight. It is a privately owned entity dictating the value of your labor. They control the interest. They control the supply. They control you. Since when? Since the day they signed it into law. They built this system deliberately. They designed the architecture to extract wealth silently. It is a machine built for one purpose, and you were never supposed to find out.
they knew the crash was coming.
And you paid for it. Wall Street banks gambled your deposits on subprime mortgages, toxic debt disguised as premium assets. They bundled garbage, sold it as gold, and pocketed the fees. When the house of cards fell, they lost $13 trillion of your money, your taxes, their bonuses. Then they demanded a ransom to keep the ATMs working. They held the global economy hostage. You paid a $700 billion bailout, extracted directly from the working class. Zero prison, zero consequences. Not one high-level banker saw the inside of a cell. They kept their mansions. Instead, the richest 1% doubled their wealth during the bloodbath. 10 million families lost their homes to foreclosure. Your home gone. Their yacht stayed. This was not a mistake. It was a calculated transfer of wealth, a financial harvest engineered from the top down. And when the markets froze again in 2020, they did the exact same thing. They printed trillions. They bought their own toxic debt. They enriched their shareholders, and you paid again. The trap was reset. But what they did in 2008 was just a rehearsal, and the documents proving their guilt are hiding in plain sight.
$315 trillion.
That is the global debt in 2024. $315 trillion gone, printed, vanished. That is $39,000 for every human on Earth. $39,000, every newborn, already in debt before they even take their first breath. Since 2020 alone, central banks have printed $9 trillion out of thin air. They flooded the market with paper. Every dollar they print makes your savings worth less. Inflation is not bad luck. It is not a supply chain issue. It is a hidden tax designed by banks to drain your purchasing power without raising your income tax. Prices are up 26% since 2019. 26% more expensive, same salary. You are working longer hours just to afford the exact same groceries, the exact same gas. Your salary is not even close to catching up. Right now, 54% of Americans are saving less than they did last year. Saving less, spending more, by design. They want you living paycheck to paycheck. They need you dependent on credit. They need you trapped in the cycle. Now you understand why you feel poorer every single year, even when you work harder. It was never your fault. It was always the system.
2008 was planned.
And here is the proof. Internal documents show major banks knew the mortgage market was toxic as early as 2006. They saw the collapse coming. Avatar. We saw the data. We knew the loans were garbage. We sold them to pension funds anyway. Rating agencies were paid millions to lie. They stamped AAA ratings on guaranteed defaults to keep the machine running. They provided the cover story. Goldman Sachs actively bet against the very mortgages they were selling to their own clients. They bet against you while smiling. The SEC received detailed warnings for years. Whistleblowers brought them the exact blueprints of the fraud. Nobody acted. I handed them the fraud files in 2005. They told me to drop it and walk away. When the crash hit, the Treasury Secretary who orchestrated the rescue was the former CEO of Goldman Sachs. The conflict of interest was absolute. The $700 billion bailout was written in exactly 3 pages, signed in 48 hours. 3 pages, $700 billion, 48 hours. The proof exists. Nobody looked. We wrote the bailout terms ourselves. Congress was terrified, so they just signed the check. It was a hostile takeover of the American taxpayer, a bloodless coup. The system worked exactly as intended. The goal was never to save the economy. The goal was to consolidate total financial power. And right now, approaching 2026, the exact same signals are appearing again. The same moves, the same silence, the same preparation. Only this time, the stakes are fatal.
The Federal Reserve is currently stress testing 32 major banks.
Their scenario? A sudden 10% unemployment rate and a massive market crash. Stress test, 10% unemployment. Their scenario? They do not run these tests for fun. They know what is coming. $2 trillion in corporate debt is maturing in 2026, and the banks do not have the money to cover it. $2 trillion due. No money. 2026. Commercial real estate is collapsing by 39%. Empty skyscrapers, worthless portfolios, trillions in lost value. More than half of top bankers are quietly predicting a severe recession. They are hoarding cash. Meanwhile, everyday Americans are now borrowing just to survive, borrowing to eat, not investing, surviving. The national debt requires $1 trillion in interest costs per year. Forever, a mathematical impossibility. The central banks have only one solution left: print more money, destroy the currency to save the debt. More printing equals more inflation. You lose more. The next crash will be infinitely worse than 2008, because this time, the governments are already drowning in debt. There is no bailout money left. The printer is broken. The only question is when, not if. The system that failed you in 2008 is bigger now, more fragile now, more dangerous now, and this time there is no safety net left.
Now you know how we got here.
Now you know what is coming. But there is one institution that has profited from every single crisis, every war, every recession, every pandemic for over 100 years, without exception. And it is not who you think. Next week, we expose everything. Subscribe now, because this one you cannot afford to miss.